Okay, so let's talk about the little video response to Lord Humongous putting out some news lately about how silver prices have gone down. And of course, for the last 30 years, people have been still announcing and pronouncing and predicting currency drops in the United States. Well, I'm gonna is a little bit of a remake of a point I've tried to make before. This stuff in the bundles was actually CIA and State Department issued play money that a retired operative gave me at a flea market, believe it or not, because this stuff was he knew I kind of collected a little bit of the old collectible stuff and kind of had a story to go along with this, that this was what they issued to people when they had operate in these different countries. So I could tell this guy had been to Poland during the Cold War. This was 1986 currency. This was from Myanmar, so probably from the 90s, unopened bundle from Myanmar. And of course we know that the agency's been kind of involved in some stuff in there. And this, I believe, was from another one of the East European countries. Let's see, what was it? I'm not quite sure though. Anyway, or is this Central Asian, I think. But anyway, the situation on this is, yeah, I understand how currency debasement works, how paper money can become worthless over time in foreign countries, where if somebody had stashed this money and they stash it for too long, they have a command economy which punishes people for stashing money. And what they'll do is they'll devalue their currency to the point that if they stashed money, it's the same as taxation because that money gets devalued. And the only thing they're going to value is commerce under commerce and hard assets under Marxist rule. They don't value capital money. They value capital assets like machines, dump trucks, farmland, anything like that, but it's really got to be something that produces wealth. And when they talk about valuing farmland, they value, the power from the barrel of a gun. Who controls, who says, who owns that. When it comes to merchandise and capital, though, there are a few ways they measure that. One is, of course, precious metals. And if somebody wanted to escape from those countries, they could rotate everything they could into precious metals, and everybody knew that if they were kind of getting precious metals together, that was their escape money. They probably planned on leaving. If they got a bunch of gold together, they were going to go to Hawaii if they're in an Asian country. They land with a briefcase full of gold, and they buy a house in Hawaii. Okay? Chinese who leave mainland China right now, they show up in Canada with a briefcase. The family will pitch in. They'll get a briefcase of gold, and they land in Canada, and they just buy in somewhere. Okay, that's escape money. When my family came to the United States after the country was invaded in 1939, part of my family came over here and then joined the U.S. military and went back and fought to liberate the country back in 1945. My grandfather on my mother's side was stopped at the Czech border and told, no, we had given that area to the Soviets, so you can't go back. And so that's how we ended up staying here, at least on my mother's side of the family. On my father's side of the family, they didn't make it here till 1947, and that's the reason why we had so few living Jewish relatives under those circumstances. And the rest thought that Warsaw might be a safe place. And we know how that turned out. And that was not a good situation for them. And, of course, I still get to hear noise from people commenting on the channel that, 4,999,000 relatives of yours or of your people were massacred, not 6 million, therefore it didn't happen. Okay, pal, whatever. But one thing I did learn is that went through the family lore was gold and silver was considered escape money. And so in survival situations, I understand the concept that if your currency's been debased and you need a tool to help pay for passage to get someplace or to buy some essentials once the artificial portion of the economy of currency or electronic money or for whatever has been stopped, this is an emergency tool. This is a prep tool. This isn't an investment that's all that good of an investment. The best investments right now, and the best investments during the worst depression ever, are still always going to be investments in commerce. And if you remember that TV show from the 1970s called The Waltons, it was a family in the United States in the 1930s during the Great Depression, and a lot of the stories and a lot of things about how they survived through the Depression and then come out of the Depression, because the Depression for American civilians really went all the way through World War II. Now, what I invest in right now and what I'm helping some friends invest in here is commerce. Now, this stack of paper, and I realize that it's kind of a personal security issue to show high resolutions of this, but these are basically shipping receipts from eBay and PayPal that represents our transactions over the last couple months. And so, about a quarter-inch, half-inch stack of boxes about like this that were being shipped out, right? So what happens is these people are buying merchandise, which obviously we sell at a profit. And one of my big secrets with helping somebody get a business going with this stuff has been that we're not shooting for really high profits. We're not trying to shoot the moon here. We're just trying to make a good, solid 25% after expenses. And because we're working with such a small amount of money, I'm actually working with a total capital amount that is probably, maybe about double, because I pitched in, the other guy pitched in, probably about double what's over here in silver. I'm working with about $1,200 in original capital. We're making $300 to $500 a month by flipping the money more than once a month. And it's a small thing, but we're all relatively poor in that regard. But you know what? I'm delivering 25% a month on investment. And if you annualize that, it's pretty hard to measure. Now, if somebody gave me $1 million to work with this, I probably couldn't make you 25% on the $1 million. But 25% on $1,200, very realistic, because there's an application of work and commerce to the investment. Here's the problem with this silver, okay? There's no way to apply work and commerce to it if you just buy it and bury it. None. You can't. You can't apply work and commerce to this if you buy it and bury it. It goes to the lesson of the communists who would print money and then debase it on purpose because they understood that in a command economy, they would give the command every once in a while of, okay, stop the music, shuffle the chairs, everybody who stashed cash that's now worth nothing, because they had a command economy. And we don't have that in the United States. But what we do have is a certain level of economic reality that if you're investing modest amounts of money, let's say between $1,000 and $4,000, and you think gambling in a stock market is a good idea, hey, good luck. We'll see how that works with your investment of time and money. And if you enjoy gambling, great, whatever, okay? But telling people to buy gold and silver and then sacrifice other elements of your life, realize that from a survival standpoint, the gold and the silver is a survival commodity that you can use to pay for transport, removal of yourself and loved ones to a safe zone that has an intact economy. And you know what? Expect to lose a little bit of value. If I were to go right back to the place where I bought these silver coins and want to sell them back, I'm not going to get what I paid for them, okay? If I went today and I got them really cheap when silver's down to 18 bucks an ounce, and then I walk in the next day, I'm not going to get what I paid for them. On the merchandise that we're buying for this stuff, as long as we keep it in circulation, it's always worth more than what we paid for it. There's always going to be a profit margin. If you just park money in a bank or in your mattress, you're going to end up like the guy who actually stashed this stuff. He knows over time it's not worth anything. And merchandise that you have on a small scale entrepreneurial business, or tools that you do Walton style. And in the TV show The Waltons, the guy had a wood shop, a little wood mill in the garage, in a barn, and eventually that turned into a bigger business over time during the Depression, because he was involved in commerce. And if it went up, it went down, well, he still had the wood mill, okay? And with this situation, with holiday seasons coming up, if somebody wants to PM or contact me through YouTube or whatever, and you're maybe local to Portland, Oregon, maybe not, and you want some good solid advice on some investments where you could make about $1,200 or $1,300 of investment and turn that into $1,500 or $1,800 within 30 to 60 days, and I'm able to flip this in 2 weeks with the right types of merchandise and the right products, then, go ahead and contact me. If you want to take some of the other guys' advice on silver, great. You bought something of value. It's not likely to become a subject of a major currency reset or anything like that within the next 30 to 60 days. It's not as likely to profit you as investing in holiday season commerce, which I can show you how to do.